Should the Minnesota Vikings re-sign quarterback Kirk Cousins? Yesterday, Kirk Cousins had a press conference and he was asked if he would be willing to stay around for the Minnesota Vikings and take a team-friendly deal. It mostly sounded like he is. According to this tweet here, quarterback Kirk Cousins appears to be open to the idea of taking a hometown discount to stay in Minnesota. I think that God has blessed me financially beyond my wildest dreams. So at this stage of my career, the dollars are really not what it's all about. Do I think Kirk Cousins should stick around for a hometown deal? First, like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. Second, I mean, we have to look at this from like anybody who watches our channel and knows my opinions about Kirk Cousins. I've always been on the side of not being the biggest Cousins fan, not being convinced he has what it takes to bring us deep into playoffs and potentially win the big game, which I do think is absolutely fair. That being said, I changed my stance a little bit. Once he went down and we had these backup quarterbacks come in, I do think that they played worse than what I was expecting, and the offense was ran worse than I was expecting. A lot of turnovers. I don't think it's all on Kevin O'Connell or anything like that. But at the same time, I also know that they're backup quarterbacks, and I don't think anybody was coming in and thinking that these guys were going to go and outperform Kirk Cousins. And I do think there's a possibility that if you had even a lower end starter, a game manager, guy like Ryan Tannehill or something like that, if that was our quarterback, I bet you we still would have made playoffs and all that good stuff. But so, I mean, it didn't change my mind whether or not Kirk Cousins can bring us to a Super Bowl or not. That stays the same. The only difference is backup quarterbacks are a lot worse than Kirk Cousins. So it shouldn't be a big surprise to anybody. But do I think they should? Let's say a team-friendly deal. What are we thinking here? Like 25? I think 25 would be very team-friendly, and I'd definitely pull the trigger on that. But let's say 25 to 35 million a year. We can even go with 30 million if that is what he's looking at as a team-friendly deal. The reasons why you might want to keep Kirk Cousins is one, Justin Jefferson, who looked frustrated at the end of the season, playing with these backup quarterbacks, which I don't blame him. I do think Justin Jefferson really cares about his legacy. He wants to get his stats and he wants to get a quarterback that can get him that and get him the ball. And Kirk Cousins is more than capable of doing that. But I also think Justin Jefferson wants to win a Super Bowl. And I don't know. I mean, he's probably thinks that Kirk Cousins can do that. I'm sure. I'm not sure that I think he can, but he's coming off Achilles season-ending injury. Whether you think that's significant or not, I do think that is somewhat of an issue for a 35-year-old quarterback. And if you're Justin Jefferson, you're thinking that Kirk Cousins possibly could only have a couple years left in the tank here, and that you do probably in some way or form want to grab a quarterback of the future that can come in for Kirk Cousins and maybe even give you a better chance at winning the championship and on a rookie deal. And I do think that's what the direction the Vikings are going to go through in this offseason, in the draft. I do think they're going to really try their best to get their quarterback of the future. At this point, I do think you want to probably trade up, which is concerning a little bit because I think the top three teams want a quarterback. And with the way Michael Penix played in the national championship, you kind of feel I don't know if the Vikings want to take him at 11 anymore. So I do think that's a different conversation, but I do think that's something that, is a little bit concerning as far as grabbing our future quarterback. But I think Justin Jefferson would like to have both. So I do think that's a big point, is for Justin Jefferson to be happy and to get that extension signed. And ultimately, just so we're not a bad team, like I said, I do think we could probably get a Tannehill or something. He's not going to be as good as Kirk Cousins, but maybe he still can be a bridge quarterback for quite a bit cheaper, even if Kirk Cousins does take a team-friendly deal. And then another thing is, if we do grab our quarterback of the future, I do think Kirk Cousins is going to be a really good bridge quarterback, similar to what we saw with Alex Smith and Patrick Mahomes, is that if you bring a guy, especially like Jaden Daniels, who kind of really blew up this year, do we feel confident that he's going to come in and be a year one starter, day one starter? I'm not convinced on that. It might be good to have a guy like Kirk Cousins to be that mentor for that young quarterback in the future. And I do think if Kirk Cousins Cousins ultimately does sign a hometown deal, I think the Kwesi is going to make it known like, hey, this is the situation, and you're going to be kind of a bridge quarterback. Obviously, you'll have the opportunity to play your best football, but still, you might be a bridge quarterback. So I think those are reasons why you would want to sign Kirk Cousins to an extension. The reasons why I think they shouldn't is, like I said, I mean, if you're going to go for a rookie quarterback, a big reason why is because you want that quarterback on his 5-year rookie contract, which means, I mean, those 5 years is as cheap as you're ever going to get these quarterbacks, especially assuming that he's good, which there's definitely a chance that he isn't. And obviously that will give us more money to spend on players, even the team friendly discount of $30 million a year. I mean, that's 30 million. I mean, imagine how many pieces we can grab with 30 million, including re-signing Danielle Hunter, and then having this quarterback on his rookie contract. And even if we do get a lower level, starting quarterback like a Ryan Tannehill or something, I know he's a free agent. I'm saying Ryan Tannehill, he's not my favorite option. I'm just saying a guy like Kirk Cousins that isn't going to be throwing, 4 interceptions a game like Nick Mullins. I do think that's the big deal too. And if Kirk Cousins signs a 2-year extension and we have to pay him $30 million per year, and I'm assuming it's going to be completely guaranteed, that's going to eat up 2 of the 5 years of a quarterback on his rookie contract. So now you only have 3 on the rookie contract. So now you only have that 3-year window there to try to make your team significantly better, spending money in the right places. So I think that's the big one for me, is it really comes down to the money. And ultimately, I personally, like, if we sign Kirk Cousins, if we run it back next year with Kirk Cousins, am I convinced that we're going to be in position to be one of the best teams in the NFL and have a real chance for the Super Bowl run? I'm not convinced by that. I think there's a chance we grab a rookie quarterback, bring a lower level guy. Hopefully that rookie quarterback comes in and takes over the starting position, and you're able to use that money elsewhere. But ultimately, for me, my final verdict here with Kirk Cousins is, I think if 30 million, no more than 30 million, 2 years, no trade clause. Like, we can trade him if we need to. I'm cool with that. And it still might not be the best. And a lot of that is me. It might not be the best decision. A lot of that is me, is like, I don't want Justin Jefferson to get frustrated, and I don't want to be totally bad when we do have some good pieces on this team. And because I don't think we have the kind of team that you're thinking we're going to have a 1 or 2 win season, regardless of who our quarterback is. So I think for that reason, like a team friendly deal, 30 million at the most, less would be better. And I think I'll pull the trigger on that, and we can feel a little bit more comfortable going into next season, and with Kirk Cousins kind of being that bridge quarterback. But if the Vikings decide like, hey, if Kirk Cousins, if that's not good enough for him, I think the Vikings decide to move on, grab a veteran quarterback. Like I said, even if it's Ryan Tannehill, or there's enough in here, Jameis Winston, there's some guys out there that can do a lot better than our backup quarterbacks this year did. So if you do that, and then you go grab your quarterback of the future, rookie contract, it could put you in a better position to win long-term than re-signing Kirk Cousins for 2 years. But at the same time, you can kind of do that competitive rebuild thing. And with Kirk Cousins taking that team-friendly deal, it will help us get some pieces around him, all that good stuff. But yeah, ultimately, I do think I'm cool with the team-friendly deal. I think there's a limit to me, and if he isn't willing to do that, I say move on, grab your quarterback of the future. What do you think we should do with Kirk Cousins? Let me know in the comments.